Hey, this is Next Generation Christian Ministry, and this is Series 1, the Book of Daniel. Now, I would like to challenge you guys to read the Book of Daniel to learn how some history about Daniel and to learn how he formed this relationship with God. So, one thing that I found in my studies was Daniel. He was from the Israelite tribe, okay? And the Babylonians kidnapped all the Israelites and they took the best of the Israelites, the quality people. Now, one thing about Daniel is Daniel was a young man without any physical defects. He was handsome. He showed upright in everything that he did. He was a learner. He was well informed. He was quick and he was qualified to serve in the king's place. Now, after he was kidnapped, the king took the people, the children, or all the candidates, took them and put them in some type of training to train them to be like them. So he was taken out of his spiritual attitude and was put into a worldly attitude. Now, although Daniel, he did go through the training, he took in the learning of their ways and he used it for his advantage. After 3 years of training, Daniel would have been fit to serve the king. Daniel refused politely to eat the king's food. Now, this is where the Daniel's fast came. Okay? The king wanted them to eat certain things like meat, things that fit for a king, right? When you think about what type of plate you want, you think, okay, I want a plate that's fit for a king. But Daniel said, no, that's not what my God told me. And that's when it became that relationship with God. So, although Daniel was kidnapped from his people, taken to a whole nother place to learn their ways, to learn how to speak like them, he never gave up. He never gave up his faith, his trust in what God had for him. And as you read later on in the book of Daniel, you will discover that Daniel, he went from the lowest place of serving the king to the highest place over all the kings, over all the magi's. And he trusted God and never thought about, well, hey, listen, they kidnapped me. No, he stand firm on what God had for him. And that's how you build a relationship with God. The most, let me see, I want to say the most important or the most creative way to build a relationship with God is when you are going through a hard time. And there's no one that can help you out. There's no one that can save you, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. And it's like there's nobody there but God. And Daniel, he could have said, well, I just can't learn these people's ways. Or they took me away from my family. Not once did he blame all the troubles that he had in his life to have that relationship with God. And in the story, it talks about how people try to destroy Daniel. They tried to get the king because the king found favor. And that's the key right there. The king found favor in Daniel. It was just something about him that the king was like, he is the one. And in the story, it talks about how Daniel was able to interpret the king's dream. Now, here it is. The king had a dream, and it was Magi's who come and interpret the king's dream. And it was so many Magi's came before Daniel, and they could not interpret the king's dream. So the king said, well, hey, let's kill them all. They ain't no good for me. Let's just take them all out. So Daniel's like, hey, what is this that's going on? I hear you killing all the Magi's. That's me. So Daniel said, well, let me try to interpret what the king is trying to say. And that's how we build up ourselves, stepping out on trust. And God gave Daniel that ability to interpret the king's dream. And later on in the story, you'll see that people didn't like that. People didn't like the fact that the king gave Daniel all these privileges, all these royalties. He went from living on the street to living in a castle, had his own wing. That can happen for us too. All we have to do is trust what God is telling us. And we have to learn how to do. First, we have to learn how to hear, and then we have to learn how to do. And sometimes God is telling us to do things like he may tell you something very simple is to forgive. He may tell you very simple, confess your sins. He will tell you something very simple as to come to me, your Father who will never forsake you, who is always there for you. Now, there has been times where I have turned away from God. There has been times when I felt like this ain't working, God. You ain't did nothing for me. And we get distracted because we think, because we going through a hard time, we think that God is not there. He's not helping us. But he is there. And he's going to walk you through it. All you have to do is call out to him. There's many a times that I have said, Lord, I trust you. Lord, I trust you. Now, it ain't going to be like we're not going to go through nothing. We're going to go through something. That's how we build ourselves up. That's how we learn that God brought us out. That's how we know that he's real when he show up in the hospital, when he show up in your home, in your children, when he gets you through that devastation period of loss of a loved one, loss of a companion, a relationship, a long time relationship. He will get you through. I have had so many times in my life that I have been hurt and I felt like there was just no way out. How am I bounce back from this? And there it is. God repaired my heart. And that's the most important thing right there. It be our heart that gets in the way. And God is looking for people who are willing to change their heart for him. So we have to trust and we have to believe that God is real and he's there for us. Now, this is just the first step of building a relationship with God. Now, I done talked about Daniel, and I challenge you to read at least the first 3 chapters, okay? And discover how he built that relationship with him. And Daniel was a faithful person. We have to be faithful. We have to be faithful to God. We can't be with him on Sunday and then the rest of the week we off doing something else, serving another God. Our car note, our mortgage, our clothing, our jewelry, those other guys that's out there. So, thank you guys. This is just series 1. Oh, excuse me. This is just series 1 of building relationship with God. I hope that this has been informative to you, and I hope that you are able to make that connection with God and know that he is with you through the storm, through the seasons, whether they're good and bad, good or bad. He's with you.